Oh, good. Fine. Councillor, shall we continue, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I hope that our witness is available. Could you kindly show me the witness, please? Is the witness there, Obi-Wan? Yes. Welcome back, Mr. Inkia.
Bismillah, Mr. Inkia.
Thank you. Yes, you made those damning accusations against the former president of the Gambia and one former Chief Justice, wherein you suggested that through that Chief Justice, the president was using the judiciary to serve his own parochial interests.
Ya fonun komando janimbita fonyon ni wala ko yew tumri jawol melta ya la na tumnun to president me alon ko be banko kanjang aning me yalon ko atela munu nyaton ko tina kiti bundal be le banko kanjang yew tumri jawol melta ya la akang par hanin kabi fanan yew tumri jawol yew mel la akang
kindly tell us.
Exactly.
Kindly tell us your basis for this very, how would I call it? These mammoth claims that you have made against the president of the former president of the Republic of the Gambia and a former Chief Justice in the person of Justice Agim.
Silanga fonye mu ibe tukuri munela ile ntumri jawol me yala nunto president membe bankun kanjang anina chioma kiti telal bela nyaton ko Chief Justice nyim bankun kan muna mu ibe tukuri munela.
Yeah, Mr. Fall, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Yeah, I will start by giving one example of when I was still a magistrate.
Yes, please.
Akomba follow la kilina. Wato membe magistrate yala mbe o misal kilingu follow dealer.
Go ahead.
And there was this time.
And otumo.
I had before me.
And atebenu daming.
A man called Alassana St. Jame.
Otumo Alassana St. Jame kamen kumandi wala.
Proceed.
Tenteng.
At that time,
Otembo,
he was permanent secretary.
Well, permanent secretary.
Go ahead.
Religious affairs.
Dina kunyalu kunna.
Go ahead. You have to speak up.
And as permanent secretary,
Abel maka momento kake permanent secretary.
He was in charge, he was like the liaison, the link between State House and the Hajj Commission.
Atelo mu tema nkoti choking down to State House ning hiji kafonyin tema. Kafome mata hijo la bankokan.
And he had organized the airlifting of pilgrims to Mecca.
Ando atele kamara kolu la kuluntila menka hijila lubondi janke samba Mecca.
And it would appear that the aircraft
Ando anatafundiko kuluntila nying
abandoned the pilgrims in Mecca.
Ay hijila lutu Mecca tuje.
Which year was this?
Ninketa sanjumalla.
That was about 2010.
Akaya mera 2010 sango konola wote.
Sent to the High Court bench.
Utumo hijo keta.
Before I was sent to the High Court bench.
Janni ba kila kiti bunda ba to kake kiti ndirlati.
To the High Court. It was 2010.
Akoto nyala utuma ba High Court 2010 sango.
No, 2009.
Ako 2009 sango konola keta.
Let me just check my records.
Akomba tu yala ayala safero lujibe.
No, it was in 2009, between 2009 and 2010.
Ako 2009 long, when in 2010 sango tema, 2009.
Proceed, please.
Tenteng.
Yeah. So
What was he charged with?
Kansul ko ya cha ye tumir
false information.
Giving false information.
Wala ya tumi na kaya kibar soto balole di.
Information.
Was it stated what false information he gave?
fo ya itandi jele ko ay mun kibar le di me yalon ko kibar soto balolem.
Yes, it was stated that he had misled
Yes, ya nyumfo nunko utumu kumakanga lumemfo.
He has misled who?
Ay jumale filindi.
the Hajj Commission,
Amunta hiji kafo nyinne filindi.
that President Jammeh had authorized that they should select the cheapest aircraft
Alum President Jammeh nyin kamale diala si kuluntila tombo menna jobe sono yala kuluntila dolu beti.
to leave pilgrims to Mecca.
Purka hijilalu samba maka.
When it was in fact not the case.
Andu kumanna ke onyama.
And what actually happened, according to the evidence before you?
Munana ke ko kuma kangol ya itandi nyame men yara yole findindi inyati lingola.
Sir, you would have to wait for the interpretation. Are you hearing the interpretation at all?
I am getting them now.
Okay, thank you. Good. Respond after the interpretation. Proceed, please.
Tenteng.
Now, during the trial,
I beg your pardon, come again.
During the trial.
Okay, kito nyi
Let us break it down for the listeners, for the audience. This man was charged, Mr. Jammeh, Alassana ST Jammeh, was charged with giving false information.
Silang nga bonyoto jang. Alasana ST Jammeh keta moti me yalon ko ye tomiro denga kangoda wala nyindi ko ay kibar soto balole di.
And the false information is supposed to have been a statement he made to the Hajj Commission.
Andu ngalo kuma soto balo ye tomiro men la ka nyana kala kulte me yalon ko ay kibar le di me yalon ko abe sujiri ndinke makatala lo committee o mollila.
That the then President Yahya Jammeh had instructed that he hires the cheapest aircraft that would ferry the pilgrims back to and from Mecca.
Nun kuma kan finde wala nyinde ko Yaya Jammeh nun to president ay kango di pour isi tombonde ke kuluntila compagnie wala me yalon ko wala da sone yada kat haji makatala bondi jang ay samba e murundina.
And the position of the state was that he did not speak the truth because Yahya Jammeh did not say so. Was that the case, Mr.
Amunta ko mendi wala nyinde ko ila lord man ko la lord la mendi wala nyinde ko amanto nyafo katum Yaya Jammeh maafo.
And you saying that was the case?
that was the case.
Thank you very much.
Akondu wala keta.
So proceed and tell us what happened in court.
Silan tenten ya fonye mune keta kiti bundato.
During the trial,
Kito nyi wuje okono.
it emerged
Afindita ko.
that President Jammeh had limited
Ko President Jammeh ateye ko la nyami.
Aye saferoke.
Ay saferoke.
that a cheap and reliable aircraft should be selected.
Ko isi kuluntila tombong. Men jo sono yata kuluntila dolu beti bar satara asike jikin na kuluntilati.
I am not sure. It's not cheapest. A cheap and reliable.
Cheap and wala kuluntila men da sono yata andung asike jikin na kuluntilati.
Thank you very much. Proceed.
Tenten.
But the secretary who wrote down that instruction
Ko secretary wala be wo kuma kangolu tamandila menu fota ten kalimolu men fota.
Go ahead.
mistakenly wrote the cheapest aircraft.
Adun wo mari le nata fili ayasa feje ko kuluntila men da sono yata kuluntila lubeti.
And then?
It is this information
O kibaro le sotonta meya
by
sabu.
the secretary
Come again.
Written by the secretary.
Ko secretary o kibaro mensafe. Secretary o kibaro mensafe.
Go ahead.
which Mr. Jame related to the Hajj Commission, read out to the Hajj Commission.
O kuma kan kilingo Mr. Jamme tata wole sindi hiji kafo nyimma Hajj Commission menu marta hiji la alla kuwala.
And
So,
Wo kammala
Barrister Bori Ture was counsel for Alassana ST Jame in that case.
Bori Ture wole mu loyati membe loring Alassana ST Jamme yo kito kono.
but how did the president react to that statement read to the Hajj Commission by Ansumana ST Jamme?
Silang president o membe nun jang ate mune keta ala jabir dati me yalon ko yola karanga ye kabo Ansuma Alassana ST Jamme bu.
It was during the trial.
Listen to the question. The question is,
Ninkaro menti.
how did the president react
President o nying mune keta ala jabir dati.
to the information conveyed by Ansumana ST Jamme to the Hajj Commission? Alassana ST Jamme to the Hajj Commission.
Alassana ST Jamme kibaro menta aya furande ni Hajj committee o molma mune keta president Jamme la manyati.
The president reacted by saying that that was not the message, that was not the instruction he issued.
Abari president nata mem foto wole nyinti wo manke kibaro ti ate yemendi.
And
And so it was concluded that Alassana ST Jamme had given false information.
Bitu wole ya sabu inata kuola nako Alassana Jamme ay kibar soto balole di.
And as a result,
O dalilo kan
As a result of that, Alassana ST Jamme was arrested and charged to court.
Ya sabu o dalilo kan ya Alassana ST Jamme muta ya samba kitola.
and how did things unfold?
In the,
ko labanda
in
nyaadi
the
le
course of the trial,
Wato men kito be ke kan
the Chief Justice Agim
memu Chief Justice ti Agim
summoned me to his office
no kan ka kumandi ala ofisoto
where he informed me
adu tumole we kibaro di atela
that the president considered the actions
ko president ay nyin kebaro je nyamin
of Alassana ST Jamme as sabotage
ko Alassana ST Jamme men ko nya wo mu tinyaro leti amunta wo mu to tinyaleti ka fome sabotage
and wanted that I should use that case to teach him a lesson.
andu dalilo ya sabu inyanta o kito tala ka Alassana Jamme karandir la membe kala anyayele ndirawti.
In essence, what were you being told to do?
munta niya fonfa niya jube muna fo e ko be menkela
I understood that to mean that I should convict Alassana ST Jamme
andu wo nyine firin
regardless of the evidence.
awe nyine firinte ko nyanta Alassana ST Jamme soronnale ka tuku wo CDR kamola.
Was that normal?
fo mu kulede me yalango ko nyandi wala ba nyanta la ba
Very abnormal.
Woni o amanke kuti men nyanta.
Is that the way the judiciary must operate in a democratic state?
fo kiti bunda nyingani wala nyanna kala la tamandre silo de bankudo me yalango demokrasi de tama kanje ba
Even in some undemocratic states, it does not operate like that.
Hani bankolu kan demokrasi te damen nuto buka kolu ke onya.
If I understand you correctly, you are being asked your independence as a judge to objectively look at the evidence and assess it and arrive at your own conclusion was being interfered with.
amunta ninga taranye fahamu bake wala nyinti go ila katara lori ifaje tumalame na kiri tela la muiti itala hamen ko da me ila kusikisiro nyi me tandila ala nyala ba onyi ngabak nyanna kala menti wala nyinti ko wota ila ye da bloke itela okiti onyi ko na nyala ba onyi anyanda kala nyame.
How did you feel when Agim told you that?
Akete fe nyaadi la bring Agim ye nyim foye.
I felt embarrassed.
Aketam fe maloti.
And I resolved, as usual, to determine the case based on the evidence.
As you would be expected in keeping with your oath of office as a judge. And then what happened? What happened?
At the end of the prosecution's case, and based on the evidence adduced before the court, I upheld the no-case submission.
Your voice has dropped.
I upheld
the no-case submission.
And what was the no-case submission based on?
Discharge Alassana ST Jame.
Woki no-case submission wala nyin 2 miri moñi aman 2 miri soto ye melda kan yow safiro menke munena na usujira munela.
And on what was the no-case submission based?
Nyin no-case submission e men dundi abe sujiri munela.
The no-case submission was based on the fact that
what
Alassana Jame had read to the Hajj Commission.
I beg your pardon, come again. Your voice has dropped.
The no-case submission was based on the fact that what Alassana Jame had read to the Hajj Commission was actually what was written to him. So there was nothing false about what he read.
No, I'm not getting that. The level of the...
There was nothing false about what he read.
Yeah,
So I upheld the no-case submission. And
what happened after that?
About 1 week later, I received a letter terminating my license.
Do you have a copy of that letter?
I sent a copy of the letter to the lead counsel.
Is it letter reference ZF 55501118 / in brackets 25 of 17 June 2010? You confirm, right?
Very well.
I have a copy of that letter with me, which you sent. It was signed by J. Belfort, Acting Judicial Secretary. And it says dismissal. And it reads in its main body as follows, and I quote: I'm directed by the Judicial Service Commission to inform you that you are with immediate effect dismissed from the judiciary.
Ako me letaro nyin safe akoy kango diala tariyare ngandu meyo kango diala wolem Judicial Service Commission de wolem bunda membe marden kiti bunda la ila nyaton kol nyi men ka tombondroke e yamoro diala pour yala dia bay tariyare nke.
Signed by the acting judicial secretary.
Letaro nyi meya sign wolem karfaro abe karfari memma wolem Judicial Secretary wala letaro nyi sign.
The typical one-line letter dismissing you from the service.
Letaro me anon ko lera kirin drong wala beje saferinte je woronne te bayla do kola.
Lead counsel, perhaps you should emphasize that it was addressed to me.
Lead counsel mbe nyambambandila ko yenyi letro ya safe ka kintelena.
Yes, of course, this was a letter sent to you and addressed to you. That's right, and that letter by one sentence dismissed you from the service. Correct? Correct?
Very well.
How did you feel when you received this letter?
I was embarrassed.
Disappointed?
Yes, of course.
Angry?
Generated some fright in me.
And why do you think you are dismissed? Because no reason had been given. We lost you there.
You cannot hear.
As a matter of principle,
yes. Go ahead.
I went to inform the Chief Justice.
But the Chief Justice is a member of the Judicial Service Commission and was copied.
Of
course, to inform him that I had been dismissed and that I had received my dismissal letter.
How did he react?
He asked me to sit. He asked me to sit down. And he informed me that it was because of the decision I took in the Alassana Jammeh's case. For which he had forewarned me.
For which he has forewarned me. Proceed.
And that when State House had asked him about he had no option than to tell them that I was a recalcitrant magistrate.
Otherwise, a stubborn one.
Yes.
And what?
So I thanked him. And I left.
Did you inform the Chief Justice that the aggrieved party had a right to appeal the decision?
For Chief Justice Yenko, Nimol Mayalongo, Kitio Tela, Kanko, Imana Kondan, for a Yantoso, the Purkam Kito Ninka, Murunkamba, Malamka appeal.
That question did not cross my mind.
As he ought to have known.
But at the phone alone.
Yes.
And
it didn't cross my mind at all.
So you left his office. Did anything else happen afterwards, down the line?
In not enough in the office. For Kuro, not sort of calling Kirin Kolaba.
A few weeks later,
lokun danta obe kola
I received another letter
ye lotar do fanan kinyinan
from the same John Belfort, Judicial Secretary,
member of judicial secretary Mr. Belford
reversing the dismissal order.
meya lonko ye bayro menkenung ya ko kan falin.
And this time round,
nyinsila do
the letter was dated 2nd July 2010.
letter oni ya safalungo men walam July karo tilifula 2010
Addressed to his worship, Ali Ambong Emmanuel Nkia.
letter oni ya kimme ye walam Aliambong Emmanuel Nkia.
Very well.
And the heading of the letter is rescission of decision of termination.
letter oni kunyi men sa veje walam nyinde ko falendro ke kangola e mentano pour bayro nyi.
Very well.
And it reads, I quote,
letter oni ay men fudi walam nyindi ko mbakaranna.
please be informed that the Judicial Service Commission
dukare mbe kala mutandin la nyinna ko Judicial Service Commission
has rescinded your termination with immediate effect.
ila bayro nyi ye kango mentano pour ke bay ya falinne sa en tari yarinke.
You are therefore kindly requested to report to the Banjul Magistrates Court as principal magistrate immediately.
woto hanin kabi wo dalilo kan ngai kanindro ke bulu pour science ay tari yarinke yete fani tandi Banjul Magistrates Court pour yeke je kitindilal bela nyaton ko ti tari yarinke.
By a copy of this letter,
andu nyi letter nyi fana ngala copy nyi.
the head of accounts is also informed that principal magistrate in care has been reinstated.
men ya lon ko le marlin na fulo ku nyala kiti bunda nyindo yol fana kala mutande nyinna ko principal magistrate Emmanuel Nkia ya murundi do ko wala tari yarinke.
That's the letter, isn't it?
wala mu letter rote fawantamba.
That is the letter.
What a letter on the phone.
How did you feel about being reinstated?
biri ye murundi do ko nyinna kete fe nyaadi le.
I was again surprised.
Ketanya tere makoti.
But this was normal, isn't
And
it?
because there was no
ari nyimu kula de melon ko anyi aka kele fawande adalta le kake.
This was normal. This is what used to
I
happen.
had not known it to be normal.
Nte de ngajela konyi mukuti men mandali kela.
Well, the abnormal, the abominable became accepted practice in James Gambia.
bari jamme la Gambia jawo wato la ko le melon ko buka nyanno ay keta kula de melon ko mol kane mu ike mutale ke ta ka ke.
You agree?
isonta
So,
Ah,
well, I cannot dispute that.
nte ososo nola.
So did you eventually come to learn about the reasons for your reinstatement?
o nyato do mande inata na lonne ko dalilo me ya sabu ye murundi do ko la ba.
Yes,
Ha,
out of, the desire to know,
me ya sabu men keta kumpo daliloti.
I met Pahari Jame.
Ntata nimpa hari jamme nyoje.
What was he? What position did he hold
Solicitor
at that
General
time?
at the time.
pahar mu makamale babulu wato la solicitor general
He was
makamo wala ba.
atelem solicitor general tinutumbo.
And
And I sought to know from him,
And,
I was just expressing doubts.
Natalong atele bulu
And he
utumo.
said me,
Come again, I was
he
translating when
said
you
to
spoke.
me,
that when
Ay nyimfanye ko.
President Jammeh read my judgment in that case,
Ko birim President Jammeh na kitite nya karango kito kono.
he was convinced that I did not do anything wrong.
Natala nyina ko woto nte man kuke mem kuja wote.
and as a result, he
And that
asked,
is why I was reinstated.
o dalilo kan wala ya sabu ye murundi do ko la.
Ha o dalilo le asabu ye na palaso murundin kam.
what did you come to learn from that action?
ila o baro kan ite mun karan ila o baro kan.
It sent a very strong message to me
ye kibar bambandin kinta kanang
that on matters which President Jammeh had an interest,
ko kolu men ya lon ko President Jammeh anyabe lorin kolu menu kang
you had to play
wolu kulleti men ya lon ko
along the lines-
nimbe tamandi la fonga songa tela kangola
in protecting its interest
pour ko atela lafinna
rather
kolu
than
pour
doing
ka wolu
justice.
pour ka atela lafinna kolu tamandi ka wolu londi
And what would happen if
Otherwise,
ni wonte
you will pay the price.
ni wonte de imari ikana kule taki wo ko kan
but was this the only instance?
follow abe mu ñenti bang do manke
Chief Justice Ajim sought to interfere with your decisions?
damente yalon ko kiti tendal be la ñaton ko ñi kaf me chief justice ka dabule la kangoto yemen kuntu
Give us another example.
misal do fanan dinna bang
Tell us about the Bunsane case.
bunsane la case fanan kuma fonye ye bang
Yes,
ha
Boon Sane was standing trial before me.
bun sane fanan be kito le kono ntela kiti bunda ñatilingula
He was being represented by Barrister Keba Sanyang,
barista keba sanyang lawyer wala be lorin bun sane o kito to
Okay. Proceed.
and
tendeng
at some point,
betun ko aketa ñamen ma
Chief Justice Agim summoned me again to his office.
Chief Justice Agim ayem kumandi kongatandan kungala ala office kono
And instructed me to discharge and acquit Boon Sane.
anyi yamaro dinna ko woto bun sane ninga kito ta nsi kito te nyin kanga bula ka abondi ko nyin kono nsi abula eta
Do you recall what Bunsane was charged with?
ñim bunsane fo hakilo sa mutano yemun tumir sifa ñaadi la deng akangoda
Yeah, it was something concerning, I think he mismanaged some money.
a ko nyin be dendi menna
When he was
ngamira
Director
kodo dole
General.
dun tabulu nyoto
When he was Director General of the then NDEA.
wotumo atelem Director General ti NDEA
Standing for National Drug Enforcement Agency?
koto men di wolen bundade min ka
Agency.
kelo ke na
Yes.
kelo ke sirama fengola banko kan
And how did you deal with the case?
ala kiti o ñi ya mutano ñaadi le
Boon Sane had made a confessional statement
bun sane kuma kango fo men itandi ko a fango e men keta ayole fo
admitting
ka sonyin na ko
to having behaved in that dishonest manner.
pour ay tilimbali ale tamandi ala kolu kono
I convicted him.
ntelun nata ate mutale ko
Based on
luwa
that
ya
evidence.
mutale
In spite of the instructions of the Chief Justice?
andu wo kanga ka men kan wolem nyaaw nya chief justice ay kuma kan men dinna anu fora ñoko
So you followed evidence instead of succumbing to instructions?
mun tay fola kuma if ibulata sede andiro la men yalon ko wollel naati e nyaati lingola ye nya kasi kuma kan wala men yalon ko yamaro la men ditela
Perfectly.
wala fonketa
And how did the Chief
I
Justice?
was later to understand
o kola lo nata nyim fahamu ko
that Boon Sane had been very instrumental
ko bun sane aketa moliti me ya lonko ay lota kuto
in the appointment of Chief Justice Agim as Chief Justice of the Gambia.
wato maybe Chief Justice Ajim Tala kake Gambia banko la Chief Justice ay lodula bambandin tamandi je
So,
And after my judgment in that case,
alum biringa kito te wo ko nyinto no tumo
proceed.
Chief
Then-
Justice Agim persuaded Keba Sanyang
Chief Justice Ajim anatani
To file
hamu
an
lundi
appeal.
kebasa nyankono
To file an
so
appeal.
he could
So that he
to
could,
file an appeal so that he could manage it, the acquittal at the appellate level.
Puru asikiti sain kango kaning. Na e kiti sain kango kaning isaje itelisi kolu feuja nyama me yalonko wale ba kendila bunsane kana.
did Keba file an appeal?
Keba anatna murunkan kiti o dundi labang.
He did not.
Amake.
But did
Masanyang is there to testify.
did that impact your relationship with Justice Ajim?
Fo anatna ilanya hadama ya nyanga anatna kole andiro dundi in Justice Ajim tema labang.
It only solved the existing rift that we had.
Amunta walio membije ayole sembo warandi.
How about the case of these Nigerians, Stanley Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya? Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya.
In Nigerian banku dimfulo moldu ila kitio ni Michael Afunewe
Agbeze.
Ambeze
And Stanley Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya.
Stanley Abeze
And Michael Ifunaya.
Yes, sometimes that should be around 2011, 2012.
Your voice has dropped again.
I said sometimes around 2011, 2012.
Kata watu men kabo 2011 kata 2012 kang
3 Nigerians were apprehended
Nigeria no mo saba inata wolu fintindi.
Nyeta.
3
Mo saba.
3 Nigerians were arrested
Mo Nigeria no mo saba muta.
for the murder of a British citizen in Kololi.
Men sababuta tubabo la membota England banko kang membe Kololi nu otumo.
They had stabbed him to death
Ya bung ya fa.
ya dor
and attempted to burn him in his car.
Ilota kang.
They stabbed him.
Ya sole ya so fa fata.
Proceed.
And attempted to burn the car in which he was.
Andu ilaftanum pru ka moto ta me ya lonka be doko la umotol.
Ilafita moto Janila.
Ilafta moto janila abe moto men kononu.
Proceed, please.
And they were arrested by the police.
Police olunate muta.
And how did you
And their
judge?
trial was going on.
Betun ko betaka ntumo menna.
At some point,
Ko tata fafuta te temboto.
the government just executed some 9 detainees in the prison.
Man sakunda nata mo konon to fa me ya lonko utumo ulube kasole la nu.
And Justice Agim summoned me again to his office
Andu Justice Agim anatan kumandi kotake ala ofisoto.
to say to me that
Kanyum
these
fanye ko
people were like my brothers.
nyimolu bele ko mbadi ngolu.
I should not convict them
Ko manyana wulu soronna.
because they will be killed.
kadu be fala
Katu ibe fala le ninge sorong.
But based on the evidence again,
Bari ne ajube sede aro mem fintita ko nyin kono kotake
2 of these convicts
mo fula be kono wolu ne wolu soronne nun.
were guilty.
Pour nyin kamala ko
No.
And one of them
They are
was
guilty.
found
ye
guilty.
boyle
loi e kitindile ye muta i boita. The other one
2 were guilty, 1 was not guilty.
loi mo fulolu muta kilindo nyin loi ma muta.
So what was the sentence?
ye sorong
I
fo wadi jëm
convicted the 2, I sentenced them to death.
Mo fulolu ngawlu kitindi nge soron ko
According to
loi
the
ye
laws of the
fale
Gambia.
Gambia jang.
And at the time, we had the death penalty.
ando wato ngal luwal soto jande men
The
ya
death
lon ko
penalty was still there.
si fanole
Utumo beloring.
How did the Chief Justice react this time around?
sila do Chief Justice ni muna keda manyati.
In fact,
aketanya memfango
he almost physically assaulted me.
domandi mfango abe boilan kan kelendi.
And I remember that he had summoned me
Alung hakilo ya mutakwaya
in the
nkumandile
presence
monyala
of a younger magistrate from Cameroon
utumo kitindirla fondinko bije membota nan Cameroon
to inform me that he was going to deal with me.
meye nyim fonyen ko anyim paretele pour ka kuta mandina kuoto.
And because of that,
Wokuo kamaladung
I had one of the worst treatment
kuolu menia lonko ulketa
that any
kudimindingol
judge of the High Court had in the Gambia.
kudimindingulu meya lonko aketa kusangaloti menu nene tamata na kiti bunda la Gambia jang High Court.
We would come to that. We would come to the treatment. But kindly tell us about the case of Sidik Asemota.
Silang Sidik Asimota la kiti yonye kuma fanya bang.
Sidik Asimota was a reporter, a court reporter,
Sidi Asimota
working with
abenung
the Observer newspaper at the time.
kiti newspaper kibar kaito meya lonko utumo abije.
I was dealing with a case
Utumo kito bembulu
of embezzlement
meya lonko aketa kodi tinyaleti.
Some young Gambians had bypassed the, how do they call it? My brain is a bit hot.
Let's cool it down a little.
You know, they had a system that bypassed the network.
Amunda silo leta meya lonko
So they
nyanta
had some
tam
fraudulent SIM cards.
That was the slave SIM cards, the false SIM cards.
Yes.
Wala mnyin sim card wala mialon ko inin sila tilino bukata.
tapale sim cardol.
Yes.
They used to put it to bypass the official rates.
Yes.
Ikawo tapale sim cardol leta mandi meya lonko abuka
very
finti
insistent.
sim cardol utambi dulala.
Yes.
So when they were arrested,
Bitumbiri emuta
So it was a case of fraud.
Unda case le mialon ko tapale ya case la.
ha wala
Proceed.
Tenden.
they Gamtel had done the calculations
gamteli konyi yirika ka
according to
konti
the minutes
abega padi
According to the
that they had
minute.
used.
ko ye minito nangamo men jani.
Proceed.
Tenden.
And so there was a fixed amount.
And afota ko tumo nangamo le sotonta
And these people,
adu nyimolu
when they came to court,
And these
the
people,
GPP who was prosecuting the case,
we missed something. And these people,
Iko nyemolu.
we missed something.
Mfilita fenne la jen.
so when they came to court,
birida takiti bundala
these people wanted to plead guilty.
nyimolu telefon lafta le pour ka son ko luaye mutale.
And the GPP
Betumo tumo DPP me yalan ko atelom kitindir la nyaton koti.
his name was Baku.
Utumo ka fo marile baku.
Asked for a date
Lungo ya kanindiro ke lungo la.
because he wanted, in fact, he applied that
Anatanyim foko.
if the guys pleaded guilty,
Anyim foko ninyi molu sonta ko luaye muta.
I should a fine that was lesser than the amount they had
Amuntansi
defrauded.
nsi kule kang me yalon ko misal kamaning alamano lem satara ate kodo nangamo sila itelie men jani
as a sign of mitigation.
puru osike kuti membe kolu sono yandila
And I told him that
adungantanga nyine fate yenko
if the state was willing to make some concession,
nimbanko pareta purka
let
yam
them go and amend the charge.
nimbanko lafta yam fada kala nyili woto tumiro mel late kan esifere ke ye kufalinji
And reduce the amount.
andun kodo nangamo men ya jani isiatala
Otherwise, I was
Beyond
going to find them guilty on the face of the charge.
ni wante ninge kitindi
And
mbe
convict
mutala
them
nyine kanko
accordingly.
ye nangamo men jani
And so he withdrew his application.
bitu dalilo lem anatala
And the
safero
people
nyim
will
bay
take their plea of guilt.
abeg pardon
I convicted them.
I convicted them
nge sorong
And asked them to pay, order them to pay as fine the amount they had defrauded the state.
bitu ngani le kanko ye kodo nangamo jo itelie men jani ilawo baro kono
Then following morning,
your voice has dropped again
The following morning,
asamo
somanda
I read from the Observer newspaper
nata nyinje kibar kaito toko
an article written by Asimota,
no there is a lot of noise I'm hearing I don't know where it's coming from
could you take off your earpiece? Could you take it off and maybe
yes I've
just
taken it off
Yes, and just listen. Maybe you would hear enough. Could you kindly proceed, please?
Yes, so the following morning,
asamo
I read from Observer newspaper
ko abe safari observer kibar kaito to nyaming
an article written by Sidik Asimota
moye safero kije ka fome ye sidi asimota
in which Sidik was stating that
adu safero kono sidi be nyine fo kanje ko
Sidik.
I had convicted,
ko ngamo sorong
that had convicted the accused persons
ko men ye ye
and
men be
ordered them to pay
ko ngamenu
an
kitindi te
amount lesser
ngamenu mutatenke kitindi
than the amount for pleaded guilty.
a inyanta kolo men jola wo man nangamo si itelie men jani
I saw that as contempt of court.
ngaw jele ko jutunna yalla moti kiti bundala
And then?
ukola
And so I caused Sidik's arrest
tum wala mu ngani kanim pour sidi samuta
because I knew
katu ngani lonko
that information was that article was deliberate.
wo kibaro men aya safe mo nyam kuleti me ya lonko ku soto balolem
So when Sidik was arrested, he was supposed to appear in court the next day.
bire sidi muta wo somo long anyanta fintila kiti bundala
And the next day was supposed to be a Monday, since he was arrested on a Friday.
andu wo somo be kay ala ko nyanta lala nyam bikatu ya muta kabrin jumalungole
Justice Agim again sought to prevail on me to release Sidik Asimota.
justice agim kotake ay fero bulindi pru nsi asemota bula
I disobeyed him again.
kotake mbalanta la kumakangola
And so Sidik Asimota was brought to court.
waya sabu ye sidi asimota na kiti bundala
And while in court,
adunga be kito kono
he
tumome
himself accepted that he was not in court the day the judgment was delivered.
ko ate man fang mantara kiti bundala wato me yala kito te
and that he had been given the information by the Director of Public Prosecution.
Me kibaro dia la wolem director me marta kitolu kunyalu tamandola.
I cautioned him
Nga
and
noma
advised
sata ka
him to
nyininka.
verify his facts
Ko ay nyin kuma
before he
kamulu bondi min
publishes
tol.
next time. That was another deepening crisis between me and Justice Akim.
O fanan keta kanwali doti intenin justice ajim tema.
And there's post this case of Abdullah Njai and Aliulo.
Abdullah Njai aning Aliulo for an case file.
Could you tell us about the things involved in that case?
Ese kuma fono nye mun kulle dabula da nyin case nyin kono ba.
That case again was filed by way of habeas corpus.
Wo kito fanan ya dundi nyamen habeas corpus yole dundi je wolem kakuo diaku ya londi.
Ifure ma wara ibaluri.
So wolem nyinti ifureo wala ibaluri ngo wolem diaku yati.
By Bori S. Chure.
The case was filed by
These
Boris.
two gentlemen,
Bari turele kito nyin safe andu mo fulolu.
these two gentlemen had been charged in connection with the 2006 abortive coup.
Mo fulolu ye 2 million coup d'etat lela coup d'etat bayri ngo menketa nun 2006.
One of them was charged with participation.
Do ya tumi ko
I
adabi
think
jele.
both of them were charged with concealment. Concealment.
Do yo
Both of
tumi
them were
nyele
charged
lako.
with concealment.
Abota kito kalam abota coup d'etat fero nyin kalamale bari ayede kibaro nyin fe.
But on the face, when I looked at the court paper, at the police investigation reports, the cautionary statements,
Dum folo nyin biringe la kuma kangolu jube police la kuma safetalu men ye fintindinang.
I discovered that
Ndata nyin taraje ko
Abdullah Njai
Abdullah Njai
had called the state guard commander
ay state guard do kulala kunton ko kumandile
to inform him once he knew that there was this plot.
kanyin jamfa jawo kibaro nyin ka awanyari aye.
So the element of concealment could not stand.
Woto ka foko ayede kibaro nyin telo ayabai wote keno la kuti mensilo.
So I drew the attention of the Director of Public Prosecution
Tumolem ngakonyi yitandi mola DPP wolem Director of Public Prosecution mem marta kito lula nga bonde akalama.
and suggested to him that it was more honorable for him to discontinue, to withdraw that particular accused person and release him.
Andu nganyina fayan ko nyimbekela ku nyimmaleti nin yo mari la kito ta ya londi woto inata bula.
The next day,
Osomo
when I came to work,
brintata do kola
I discovered a sealed envelope
nga ambuloko taraje men dabe tawunding
in my office,
na office okono
in which it was stated that
letter okono yenyine
the
foje
whole
ko
idea
ko nte
not to release Abdullah Njai
kon kana Abdullah Njai bula
was that
wala nyinti ko
if he is released,
ni abula
based on the fact that he had informed Captain Serin Modunjai
abelari nyin kanko ay kibaro di Captain Serigne Modou Njai la lenung
of the coup plot,
ko coup d'etat fero le sitita
then Captain Serin Modunjai will be dismissed.
woto ebe Captain Serigne Modou Njai bayla ala do kotole.
So in protecting Captain Serin Modunjai,
Woto purka
I should
Captain
do
Serigne Modou
everything to
Njai
convict
kanta ka
Abdullah
tankandi
Interesting.
Nyabor.
I found this to be unreasonable.
ngani nje ko kulem nyinti me yalon ko anin silo manta anin dalila tala.
We missed something. He did say that the letter said I should do everything to protect Captain Serigne Modou Njai by convicting Abdullah Njai.
letro ñing kono ñim fanam fota jele ko nte ñanta fero be kelale pour que Ablaye Ndiaye Serigne Modou hani pour que Ablaye Ndiaye sorong ñing kamala e capitaine Serigne Modou Ndiaye ka kanta ka tankandi e mantoroma.
Proceed.
Akoy tenten.
I found this unreasonable.
Nataje ko ñing aman dalila soto.
And in my judgment,
Adun nakiti tenya.
I acquitted Abdullah Njai.
Abdullah Njai nga bulale.
And I motivated his acquittal
Andung alabula nya nga
on the grounds that
nga sembentuya nyin dalila
he
kanko.
had informed Captain Serigne Modou Njai
Ay kibaro di Captain Serigne Modou Njai dale. Men keta nyin kudeta feroti.
But this letter that you received,
Yemen soto ibulora.
was it silent as to the consequences that would follow if you did not do what was instructed in the letter?
Fo kuma kan safeta jele ko aytandi le ko ning ayatara iman son kuma kan me alan ko lebe letter o nyin kono ibe de indila.
it was loaded with threats.
Kuma kangolu fota jele men keta silandir kolti.
What type
And
of
of
threats?
course,
Musila kuma kan sila siva.
Abeten nako
there was this common phrase,
amunta nyin foro
"will not
bije
live to regret."
ko mben nimisalale.
And in spite of that threat, you convicted, you acquitted the
No,
accused
I
person.
acquitted.
Munda ida o silandire kuma kan nyin be yemen kiye bar hanin kabi o nyaaw nyaa ina na nyin tumir mo nyin
The
soro.
other accused
E yabula.
person was convicted.
Nga jube nga mo mutare nyin bula men tumi.
This particular threat
Nyin silandire kumol nyin.
was not from Justice Ajim, correct?
Imambo Justice Ajimi
No, it was
akodi.
not from Ajim.
So
I
now,
understood that threat
Amambo ajimi ade andu nga
to
fahamu
be
ko
coming from the NIA
NIA nyin kuma kangolu bota woleto.
and the DPP
Anin DPP fangola
working
karo.
together.
Working together.
Wala bedu ko ke kan nyola.
another important issue arose in that case.
Kukuma do fanan findita o kidio nyin kono.
That the pre-trial period of lengthy period of pre-trial detention of Abdullah Njai.
Abdullah Njai la mutoni wato nyin be kono muta wati jango nyin kono ala kidio nyin kono.
Yes. They have been held in custody for over 6 years.
Itartamu to kono men siata sanji woroti. Imekitindi.
Isn't that?
And that is why the process was initiated by way of habeas corpus.
O dalilo le asabu ye ko nyin tamandi nyamen inata foko sayabije balu bije nyanta kalale.
Couldn't it be interpreted that the extensive delay in bringing them to trial, or the failure or the lack of prosecution of that case was intended mainly to seal the other Mr. Njai, Captain Njai?
I think that was the deliberate.
Wala mtonya mweleti ya ke akamale ya wuli wale fango kama.
That's sad.
Balafa warta.
And still you were faced with another case in which the NIA was also interested.
Munta hanin kabi koreke kiti do falana te nyati lona case la kiti la me yalon ko NIA yesulo sota kono.
Otan Skoli, Kasum Sow, and Demba Balde.
Otan Skoli, Kasum
Sow and Demba Balde.
Demba Balde.
Tell us about it.
Kuma fonya nyi Musa wala kura.
Yeah, in that case,
Okito kono
some 3 senior NIA operatives
NIA la nyaton kado kula lumosaba.
Proceed.
They had actually
William Menke
tricked
ye nene roke
some Gambians
ye Gambian ko dol nene
to take on bail
pour ka bel ko foye
some microfinance fraudsters
molu men ya lonko wol
Nigeria.
mutapale woleti kodi ko la karola.
And then?
These people had opened something like a small bank in Serekunda
Molu amunta e
where they
menke ye
collected
bank
money from Gambians
ye bank bundandingole le
and then they
Serekunda
wanted to run away.
And
So
when I'm translating, if you speak, I will not be able to get you. Ye bank bunda ndingule le Serekunda ka Gambia dingulu la kolo lutake tapale. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when these people were arrested,
Ye nyimolu muta.
these NIA operatives tricked these Gambians to take them on bail as shorties.
Nyeng NIA olu ye dabula nying koto nyale ye isambela ofisoto.
At a later stage,
Birinko meta domanding.
these Nigerians effectively fled the country.
Nigeria nulu inata kud tamande iborta ye banko bula e fintita.
And the DPP
Between DPP wala memmarta kitolula
now filed an application before me
anata safero ke pour kanyim fonte ko
for the forfeiture of the bonds.
For the forfeiture of the bond.
Pour wolo ila bon il pour ke bel au kulo me yalonko abaita.
Menu ye bill pour
ye garantie min bulaje pour ya
di mansala ya
Menu ye bel woli ye sanko menke pour yo di mansala.
Proceed.
And Atuman Gay, Barrister Atuman Gay was lawyer for these three shorties.
No, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Antuman Gay was lawyer for these three sorties.
Antumana Jay atelo lota mo sabole menu ni mol bail.
Now, usually, the application for the extraction of bail
Bitu otembo safelo menketa pour nyim bel kunyalto.
So it's affidavit evidence.
No, we can't get you.
Usually, on the issue of application for forfeiture of bail, it is done by motion. It is based on affidavit evidence.
Ning moye mobile ay menu bel ni wol nata bore ning koku nimbe tamalaje akana tara laring school la sede akolle kan.
Affidavit evidence is
Kuma kangol lel di safiroto.
okay. Proceed.
When the DPP filed his motion,
Brin DPP ya atela fangola kuma kangolu safe
Atuman Gay filed a counter affidavit.
Antuman Gay fana nata safero ke purka okolu ke kuntaki.
And it became clear
that
we needed oral evidence to settle the disputing contradictory evidence. So I ordered that the NIA operative should appear before me in person for us to be cross-examined. The following day after my order was served, when my order was served on the NIA Director General, Mr. Baji He was NIA Deputy Director at the time.
Atelem director no lankoti NIA Wotembo.
Which Baji?
Baji Juma.
Yankuba Baji.
Kafaina Yankuba Baji.
Proceed.
He came to my office
Afango natal na ofisoto
to request that
purkana nyin kaning
I should only allow those NIA operatives
puru insisilo di nyin
to swear
NIA
to an
ulula
affidavit
to do what?
To swear to
and
an
not to
affidavit.
appear in person.
Puru isi kali CDRO kango kang.
Saferoto bari.
Saferoto.
Fangol kan jato kana na kiti bundato.
Amunta be safero le kala bari fangol tina kiti bundala.
I told him that I did not see how those operatives would disobey the court order.
Nga fay jele ko nte maje de wo NIA do kulalu si balanno kiti bundala kango la nyame.
Because he sought to impress on me
Kato hammo mu nyil tunum pour ka nyin dundin teto ko NIA ulu
that NIA operatives
Go
don't appear
NIA
in court.
de kulalu wul buka finti kiti bundala.
They can flash their badges everywhere in town and boast about being NIA officers, but they cannot appear in court and identify themselves as such.
Amunta esi la kampong wuli no bedolo kono dinkira ka fo to NIA do kula de bari ni kuma de kiti dulato pour yana findije o manyanta ka finti wora.
That is the
So I
status.
told him
Bari nga nyin ne fay ko
that if those NIA operatives did not appear in court,
ni wo NIA do kulalu manna kiti bundala.
I was going to dismiss the case.
Mbe kito nyi mume be bayla.
Did they appear?
Nata na kiti wala nyati no
They
laba.
did not appear.
Imanna
I dismissed the case.
mfana nga kito nyi mbay.
And was that
And from that time,
Bitun kabo wato la.
I started getting attacks on my integrity,
Wato
threats on my tool phone,
wato lo ya
on the
damuta
internet.
kantumi na telefono luto internet to ka foy kan silandi.
who did you
It's
suspect?
only aggravated.
Isabita ko jumala ka woke.
Adun kol nata sangara.
Who did you suspect was responsible for all these threats and
It was
smart
directly
campaign?
the NIA.
Nying ninkumu NIA o lebo tamandi kanu.
And was that the last encounter you had with Mr. Yankuba Baji?
Fo wala nyo se labango
No.
nyindi inin yang babaje men soto nyotema ba.
During the trial of Justice Wowo,
Wato mebe justice wowo kitindi kang.
Yankuba Baje again approached me
Ate Yankuba Baji kotake anatan kang.
This time he did not come to my office.
Nyin silo de amanna na office oto de.
I met him at the petrol station at the Rusubi turntable.
Rusubi ton table oto esansero membije ngata rawoleto.
I was going to my house. I lived at the time in Rusubi.
Mbita kan na bungoto otumo
I had
mbe
stopped there to get fuel.
otumo mbe Rusubi le nata lo essence wa fidulato pour ka essence o sang.
And he had informed me that it was not the intention of the state
Ando ay nyine foko nyi manke banko la hammoti no otumo.
Why were they
and that I should
prosecuted?
do everything
Moto nyanta ko be
to
katalale
acquit him.
pour ka nyin kito banke olubula.
Why were they prosecuting him?
Sai muna ne sabunde muna sabi ka kitindi.
In fact, I told him that I did not bring over to my court.
Dunga nyine fayan ko nte mango
And that
kol na kit
investigations had been carried out by NIA and the other people.
nga fayan te ma ko samba kito ko nyi men ya dundi ko futandi o tembo to wala NIA do kulal fawde.
And that if the state was not interested in prosecuting him, they
Ning
could
ayatara-
discontinue the case.
Woto nimman sakunda mang nyi hammo soto pour ka o kito tamandi woto ye kito nyi yalandi.
But for as long as Wowo was before me,
Bari fojan
I
ning
was going
wairi
to deal
wowo
with him
bente
according to the
nyatilimula.
law.
Ning wowo ben
If he
nyatilimula.
is
Aha.
not guilty, I will acquit him.
Nin luwa ma muta
If he is
mbabulala.
guilty, I will convict and sentence
Nin
him
luwa ya
accordingly.
muta mbamutala nga sorong.
How did he react?
Mune ke ate
wasn't
manyati.
happy with that response.
Amunta manse o freng ntela o jabirola.
Was that the only interference he received from the NIA on that case?
Fo rondem dabulo de yemen soto NIL
No, there was
bulo case to ba.
also this guy they call Alaji Mo.
Modo fana mbije ka fo me alaji mor.
Proceed.
Tenteng.
What's his
That's the way
real name?
Idrissa Job.
We can find Mr. Job. Idrissa Job.
Proceed.
Idrissa Job.
Tomu Idrissa Job leti.
Which institution did he work
I
for?
think he was working for the NDEA, but he was everywhere.
Kato atamu molta katara dula bele to bari ngamira be do kola nung NDEA leye.
What do you mean by he was everywhere?
Ila ko to mune de ka fo ni akatara dingiral belt.
He was at the police, he was at the NDA, he was at the NIA, he was everywhere.
Abe police, abe NDEA, abe NIA, abe dula bele to tumo.
Proceed.
He was a kind of top cop.
Amunta te mumo leti me yalo mo safo ko mo nene la santon kunyaton ko le mwati.
Top cop.
Up cop.
Top cop.
Amunta police nyaton police santon ko le mwati.
Proceed.
Tendeng.
And for him, he was more frontal.
Alung atela karola. Nyine sembo warta ko ate ka nyati linko la meni alon ko ini silamanta.
And what did he demand?
Ay mune kaning.
He made the same demands that Yankuba Baje made.
Ate fana ye kuma kan kilingol le fo ko Yankuba Baje kuma kan lumenu fo.
And my reaction was the same.
Andung ila Kenya be mu kilineti na jabiro mu kilineti.
And I remember vividly
Alung hakilo ya mutakasene yako.
That he spoke to me in some broken Creole.
Adi amutanya nyaming amunta Creole wolem angale kan timabalo akau kuma kan fasongol le fonye no ngotumo angale kan kuntun dingo.
Do you speak that language?
Ko ite ka tubab kan ite ka kan woni mol
I
fole ba.
understand, but I don't speak it.
Nga fahamu de bari mbuka fo.
Because we have a kind of Creole pidgin base in Cameroon as well.
Katu andel fanali ya Cameroon wotumo nyin Creole kan fola lo ka fojele.
So how
But
did
he
you
had made me to understand
Bara natanyine ke itandi na hanfo nga fahamko.
that I was now behaving as if I was a very big man.
Wotumo nte aya nyi itandi na konte nga mfamutale konte mu mo baleti.
And that they were going to size me down.
Ando ni iteluba katala le purkante lao waro ka jindi.
Of course, I understood that to mean that they were going to come after me.
Nganata fahamu ko koto munyinati ko ibe wulila nte kammale.
and how did you deal with the case?
Kitiyo nyi yamara nyadi le.
I dealt with that case as any other case before me.
Ngawo kito tamandile ko kiti wo kiti menu nata nyati limula.
The counts for which I believed, I was convinced that Justice Wowo was guilty, I convicted him.
Andu mbirenga o sede ya kulu jibe
Those I
nga
thought he was not guilty, I acquitted him.
ko nga funu nyame ning lua ya muta mba mutalale barbitu nil amantanake amankuke lua babulale.
But after the
I've been
encounters,
particular about that judgment
Andu wo kuto kuona take
because I
nyame wo kito
noticed that it went up to the Supreme Court.
andu kito nying anatala nyame anatatale for Supreme Court.
And the Supreme Court upheld my judgment in the main.
Andu wo Supreme Court birim futata jenga na kito te nyake jeleto.
they upheld my decision in the main.
Nga kundu nyame ya sabatindi wala
Nga
nyame.
In the
kito
most
kun
important parts.
nga kito kuntu nyame kitindiro la karola inata wole londi je fanang.
Thank you. And
Now, after that case,
Wo kito kola
after that period of encounter with Baje and Idrissa Job,
birin wo wato tambita nimbaji ning Idrissa Job la wo nyoje wolu.
I witnessed the highest level of intimidation
Nata kuje me ya lonko wole mu silandir kumma bati asembe maba
in the form of blackmail
munta ya kata purka
and
kululankan
direct
mammenuke
And direct threats.
ani
at some point
silandirol
in the night
at night what
at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m.,
talan kilin kata talan fula sutola
I will receive anonymous calls
isi kumandirolu ke telefono la kan kumandi
when I pick the calls.
nga telefono nyinta
Nobody will be talking from the other side.
mo bukadiya mo
And when
karadol
I drop,
nga telefono landi
they will call again.
isi kumandiro ke kotake
And so I submitted my phone,
nga na telefono ta nata
and they
di
did a kind of, a kind of investigation to check who had the number
pour que ise nyin jubero kenye wo
that they
nomba
have been
men
using in calling me frequently.
wo nomba menu kan kumandi no wonya wato be purase long
And it showed that the SIM card was not registered.
andun tata tara ko sim card o nyin amantara
Anybody's
safering
name. And that the phone had not been used
andun telefono nyin
with any other SIM card.
sim card do mantama a telefono nyin kono
The current Minister of Interior, Yankuba Sonko,
membe minister ya la banko kan kunya la wotumo yankuba sonko wotembo
advised me that it was not ordinary people who were conducting the threats.
molle men ya lonko ibe silandiro le ke kan menmu mo kensengolu dammanti
He advised me to be careful.
ay nyim fanyen ko woto sing hakilo tu bake
What did you understand him to mean when he said these were not ordinary people?
ite munefa murabenga ko nyimol manke o mo kensangol tidro
I understood him to be saying that they are NIA people.
ngani na fahamu je ko wayri mo kensen nuten woto be kala NIA en kolleti
And even without him saying so,
adun hanni misal kama
I
tama
had
fonu
the strong feeling
nta fango nyin duntan sondo moto ko
that they were the ones behind it.
itello moluti men be o manyala
Some
In
of...
fact, they had alleged
andu inata nyim fang fole ko
Proceed.
that I had forged my birth certificate from Sierra Leone,
ko na wulu kayto nyin ngatapale kayto le da kabo Sierra Leone
that I was not a qualified lawyer in Cameroon,
ko nta manke lawyer ti menke meye lawyer karango ke meye lawyer do ko no Cameroon
and that I had met with lawyer Osenu Dabo
ko ntening lawyer Usenu Dabo bentale
secretly to negotiate and compromise the trial of Amadou Sané.
pour nyin kamala nsi fero city nga kullo pour ka deng ka kutamandi
And that I had also
ko nyim fanan kola
facilitated the escape
nata kana
of Benedict Jame and Fatou Kamara from the Gambia.
ko ntele nga fero ke Benedict Jammeh nim Fatou Camara la kano kabo Gambia ntele ngo fero city
They even went as far
tata fang hanifo ka
as
futa nyin
calling
toko
my siblings
ko what
to inform them that
Siblings.
Calling my
arrested in the
siblings.
Gambia
kan
for
dingulu
peddling
kumandi na
drugs.
dingulu kawlu kumandi
To say that I was arrested in Gambia with drugs.
ika foko yente muta Gambia janne nin sira fengulu
And all these things were online.
adu nyin kolu bemu kulleti men ya lonko ye bankenu andu aben som do moto fanan
How did this
I
impact you?
approached the Chief Justice
tumolen tata Chief Justice kang
and I requested the Chief Justice to make a public statement
andu nganyin kaninga bulu puru ay kuma kan
That-
fintindi
I had never submitted any document to the judiciary suggesting that I was from Sierra Leone Law School.
adun ka nyina yitandi kon tenene man kayti di kiti bundala jang ka fonte bota Sierra Leone le
ila luwa bunda luwa karam bunda
The Chief Justice advised that the most competent person to issue press statements
Chief Justice ya
was the
maro
Attorney
dimola.
General.
Chief Justice ya maro dimola me ya lonka si kumakangulu fintindi o karola.
Were you working for the Attorney
I
General?
approached the Attorney General,
Ntata Attorney General
he
kang.
was reticent.
Who was she?
tela mun jumati
Mama Fatima Singate.
Ka find Mama Fatima Singate.
And what did she say to you?
ate mune foye ate mama Fatima Singate.
No, at that time, she just said, well, if the NIA people are doing their investigations, I should allow them to finish their investigations.
Ata nyina fanyan ko ning ena elubela kisikisiro la woton tanyanta ulbulala le la kisikisiro ke foye bandi.
Was that investigations or public accusation or rather a smear campaign?
fo tumiro nyingal waranto
I believe it was a smear campaign.
Delata la ko toku ya fere sitiri ngolo moti.
All right,
Because all the documents I submitted at the PMO,
Katondenga kaitolu menu be
where
samba
I was initially recruited
nanyin kaitolu menu
as state
samba
council,
menu samba PMO yen nado kota daminto
see?
had no bearing with Sierra Leone.
woni Sierra Leone man kokundin katandi nyola.
So I did not see where that was coming from.
Malong wo kafinti akabona ndamin nuwo tumo.
Well, all this is interesting, but your relationship with Ajim too
yimbe nyabo warala bare ning had ajimla hada maya fanang
was interesting.
fanam kule me ko nyabo warala.
But was this the way in which he managed the judiciary?
fo nyina min siloti te nyaala me yalon ko ay kiti bunda nyake mara wala nyama ba.
Tell us about his relationship with Moses Richards.
Aning Moses Richard la hada maya nyim fonye bang kuma fonye je bang.
You know, when Moses Richards
Yalong Moses Richards
was relieved,
bring
was
sangoso.
relieved as judge,
What?
When he was removed as judge, relieved as
Biria
judge.
abondi kitindiro bundala.
when he was removed as judge,
Biria abondi kititeo bundala. Agim
openly stated that
anyim for kenela ko.
he had information
Ate kibaro sotole ko.
that Richards believed that he was behind his removal as a judge.
Ko Richard lata nyine la ko ate ajim le fero city purka abondi do kuala.
And he vowed that he was going to pin Richards down.
Ando anyi lahido tako abe kula la Richard kan.
Proceed.
Ten.
Please, I'm taking a meeting. Yes, so at some point,
Yo anatafuta watoto
Richards wrote a letter on behalf of his client.
Richard e letro safe ala kiliano toyala.
And that letter was addressed to the sheriff division.
Ado letro ya akida men wala sheriff's division.
At the time,
Otembo
Magistrate
Magistrate Efim Joseph
was the sheriff.
wala sheriff tinungo tumo.
And because both of us came from Cameroon,
Katu bari wairi bota ate
we
fanam
had a
bota
very close relationship.
abota Cameroon le otumo
O hada maya ben tema.
hadamaya ben mofulo tema.
Ntol fulotem.
Mufulo.
Hadamaya be mofulo tema.
Ntol fulotem.
Walem attending Joseph Nying. Hadamaya be telle tema.
Okay. I did direct translation.
So Efim immediately wrote back
Efin wo noto ay safero ke koteke
answering Moses' concerns.
ka itandi Moses la ko abe tembeda mento.
But later in time,
O letro e watola
when Agim's attention was drawn to the letter Moses had written to the sheriff division,
biring ajim inata anyim bonda kalama Joseph ye letro menki ka ki sheriff's division.
Agim wrote out a different reply.
Ajim nata saferdo ke memmu jabiroti jabiri fasondo
Copying office of the president,
kadoki president wala office auto
and copying some other dignitaries.
Anen ka letro nyin copy fananki nyaton kadoliye.
In which he sought to create the impression that
Yo letro kono ay nyine yitandi je
Moses
ko.
was unpatriotic and was attacking the state.
Moses manke banko din kendote andunga be banko boyin kankanne.
So he effectively set him up with the state and indirectly reported him to the most important people who can cause Moses Richard some trouble.
Amunta ay nyine ke ay nyim parendi ka Moses kungoni banko takindi nyola anata ala ko kibaro fanandi banko mo kumalula pour nyin kamala isi ajube nyaja wola.
Effectively.
Amunta ketabole nyama.
What happened as a result?
Mene nata ke okola.
He gave the manuscript to Efik to type on his computer.
Anata le nyin kango di safera la puru e safero ke ala computer to ko.
I read the manuscript myself.
I beg your pardon?
I read the manuscript myself.
Kaito nyin karang, kaito men safeta.
Proceed.
And if you saw the 2 letters that left the sheriff division,
your voice has dropped again.
And if you saw the 2 letters,
adunenyi letter fulolu je
that left the sheriff division,
me alonka aketa sheriff division ye menki sheriff division,
you will see from the language
ibaje la ka kuma kangolu mennu fota o kangolu o letter o kaito luto.
And so when that letter got to the office of the president,
ani megme ya lonko yole ki president la office auto,
Richards was arrested.
utumole enata Richards muta.
It would interest you
And abakela alfe kanyi tandiko.
At that time,
Wato
Richard Chenge was the director of public prosecution.
Chenge wolem director ti kito karola bunda memata kito lulanyala.
And when Richard Chenge sought to object to the arrest and prosecution of Richards,
birin Chenge nata bokolu kalama mentata la kenyintiko Richards mutale.
he was expelled from the country.
He was
expelled from the country.
Yate fangu mume by Bangkok.
That is the immediate reason why Richard Chenge was dismissed as director of public prosecution.
Odalilo le asabu ya Richard Chenge by ka bondi kito lukunton kayala.
Of course, he could have. Just a moment. Of course, Richard Chenge could only have been sacked by Yaya Jammeh.
And Richard Chenge, Yaya Jammeh, rondon kera mubekela moti mensaba ino. Kodi.
Do I take that? Do I take that to? Does that signify your acceptance of that proposition?
For Satano Janko, wala munyindi ko isondala ko nena miro ngamen fo bang.
I know that the position of director of DPP is a constitutional position.
Nalonko o palaso director of public prosecution kulo membe bankola constitution wala bankola sarta bukuba fankona bijeli.
Would have only been sacked by President Jammeh.
And President Jammeh adrone saba ino.
For that kind of reason.
Proceed, please.
Wait and time.
Now, when that matter went to court,
so Chenge's replacements duly obliged to have Moses Richards arrested and prosecuted, correct?
Yes, of course.
Well, Chenge, Briate by when a men said a palasso, Ronata in Kangolon de Puri, Richard Moses, Richard Mutaya, Kitindi, and Walaketa.
During the trial of Moses, the country was hot. The lawyers were agitating. There was tension.
Kito nyim fang be kekan tumo mena utumo blue bulo ni ndabulo keta kito nyim kolole.
And everybody thought that the prosecution should be dropped.
Mojamani mutako Moses alakonyi akiti bundala. I didn't get the last part of your statement.
The prosecution should be
That
dropped.
the prosecution should be dropped.
Kito inyanta bulala le kalandi.
In your own view, based on your insider information, your belief is that Chief Justice Ajim set up Moses Richards in order to have him prosecuted.
Chief Justice Ajim ay dolingo ayola Moses Richard nyinkamala ko isaja bulur silano akanyame isa kitindi.
Just out of anger, out of spite, on the basis of what he believed Moses Richards may have said.
Kamfa kono dron ngani kamfa kono dron me alon ko ata jikita nyine ko Moses Richard ay woleke.
This is
That
not
was the kind of person he was.
Atamo fasongole tunumfang.
Why do you say that this was the kind of person he was? Could you kindly give us another example of such revenge using the justice sector institutions?
Mune sabe ko ila mira lo ko mo sifa façon le made fo misal dol fanam be jele ila mira do me yalon ko ay muna fan ni sifa la ko take na kiti bundal ka kuluro la mo kan.
Yes, the case of Gombo Toure.
The case of
Gumbo Toure
la Kito.
Gombo Toure
la Kito, yes.
Proceed, yes. What happened in that case?
In that case,
Kito
Gombo Toure was accused person.
Yeah, Gombo Toure atelo moti men tumi.
Accused of what?
The VC, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Gambia.
Vice Chancellor, well, Chancellor no manko member Gambia la University of Tonung.
Was a star witness for the prosecution.
What
was Gumbo Toure charged with?
He was also charged with false information.
Proceed.
And at that time, the Vice Chancellor was Professor Muhammadu Ka.
Watembo Chancellor Ikafole Professor Muhammadu Ka,
who also had some rift with Chief Justice Agim.
Justice Ajim.
What was the rift and why?
Justice Agim used to be an adjunct lecturer
Justice
at the University of the
Ketanung karandirlalti wati karandirla Gambia la University oto.
And at some point, the West African Insurance Institute, conferred Chief Justice Agim with a professorship.
Well, not a makamo di Justice Ajimla, may along call him Professor Makamoti.
But Professor Muhammadu Ka refused to recognize Agim as a professor.
Abalanta purka Ajimla Makamota, memu Professor Makamoti. Atemanso wala.
Was Ajim happy with that?
He wasn't happy. And for that reason, he stopped teaching in the University of the Gambia.
And did he leave it at that?
Not at all. So when the case of Gombo Toure came up, he used it directly attack the person and integrity of Professor Carr.
Professor Kati.
How did he do that?
In fact, he personally wrote the judgment that was read by the magistrate.
Was it at magistrate's court level or at high court level?
Gumbo Toure la nyin keti yo nyin fo abe kiti bumbal to ban fa ben na kiti bundan ni ngol to ban.
Abenu magistrate kiti bundal.
And how do you
beg your pardon?
Was a trial magistrate.
Alagbe was the trial magistrate.
Wala be kito nyinta ke kanu.
How do you know that?
If you take
How do you know that Chief Justice Ajim wrote the judgment instead of Magistrate A.T. Alagbe?
Iti yalo nyadi le ko Chief Justice Ajim atele nyin kiti nyin kuntu atela safe andu amanke Alagbe di me yalo ko atela magistrate de wato wala o ma safe.
first the language,
Wala kango Kenya,
which was more like against language,
me yalo ko aning Ajim
and
la
unlike
kodus.
Alagbe's language.
Wala ma la kangoti ate Ajim andunga la safero Kenya ya itandiko ala kangolo nyindi.
And what else?
Ani mum feng.
And secondly,
And flanjang.
Alagbe himself had practical difficulties in reading the judgment.
Alagbe fongonata kolea taki puruka ukiti tenya karang.
Which signifies, in your view, that?
Me ya itandita la miralo
He was
roko.
not the author of the judgment.
Ate manke moti meyo kiti tenya safe.
Meaning that it was written for him,
Munta kuto munyati wala mnyindiko ya safa enne.
for him to read out.
Puru ate ya sa lankene maya banke.
Yes.
That
And
is-
that judgment,
Andu kiti tenya
if you would be interested, try to get a copy of that judgment,
nibela fila akata
and you will see the kind of catching attacks
neo kaito soto
that were
ibaji
made
lale.
on the person of Professor Carr.
Boyin kandirol ning kalimolu ye menu for Professor Kama ukumakangulu kono.
Challenge my professorship, I attack your integrity and your qualifications also as a professor. That's what
Of
happened.
course.
Tit for tat, right?
Munta ya ke julu julni julu joleti.
And
But the intention
Anu hammo memba koma.
which Agim had made known
A jim fonata me
was
yitandi.
that Professor Carr will be relieved as the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia.
Wala mnyindi si Professor Ka fango bonni Vice Chancellor ya la Gambia la University oto.
just like he removed himself as a lecturer from the University of the
Ko ya fambondi karaka ke karandir la na Gambia la University ro nyame.
So Professor Kam must pay in equal measure.
In equal measure.
Wala mo
So, but
finance
unfortunately,
anyonjulo.
that did not happen.
Bare bitu manake.
So no wonder you call Ajim as the worst Chief Justice ever for you to have
Under
worked
my
for.
eyes.
Muta de undata je ko inin Chief Justice men nana dogo ke men jawiata tambila me wala men tambita Chief Justice Ajimti.
Konya ya je nyami.
But you also did other cases of prolonged detention, prolonged pretrial detention.
Bare defana kitiyo dol tala men ya lonko
Yes,
imarinyol
in
meta
the-
Morocco no andu ila kitiyo nyin fana meta andu yeoke Justice Ajim la maralole koto.
Yes, in the summer of 2013, the summer
2013
vacation,
2013 sama kono wucho daha wucho be kerin tumomen.
there was a project
Do kusoton tanung
but, by an organization
kafo dole a wulindi.
called Prison Fellowship International or something like that.
Me ya lon ko karansilo le membe lari mbanku ni mbankute ma sarto lukang.
In which they intended to fund a project that would decongest the prisons
Wala mnyente nyina hamo soto prudo ku me ya lon ko isa du ko tamande bari kasola kolu kamalem.
by fast-tracking cases where people have been in detention for long.
Wala mnyente saje kitolu sekretariya kono. Ina mana tulari nje ay me kitolu manke molu sime mutokono ilafta purka ke ka kitolu tariyandi.
So I was asked to sit on that session
Roka feroke ka bibesila o kitolu kunna nyami.
and I think
Andungamira
the other lawyers who were recruited in that same session included Cecilia Jahati,
ye loya lumenu dabula ndi o kokono mobije ikafome ye Cecilia Jahate.
and there was Olimatu Danso from the state.
Olumatu danso fanandabe ulukonole kabo banko kang.
During those sessions,
O siolu wuche okono
there were two cases
kiti fula sotonta.
in which the state council
Dame ya lonko mansakundala lawyer
informed the court
kiti bunda afango
that they could not trace the case files.
ko imang kito fango la le kaito luje kaito lumen be dendin kito nyin ka fome case file.
After adjourning the matter a series of times,
Birin ye kito nyin deng sinya jamala
I dismissed the cases,
ndefana yo kito lu bay
ordering the immediate release of the detainees.
ando ngani mfoko mbanu be kito kono be mutoko no nya ye be bula
This was included
alungo kono nyin dabi jele
in my final report,
na kibar labango kono
which I made at the end of the summer session.
me yalon ko ngaw banke wo sama daha wuccew bandulale to.
And this report went to State House.
Alugo kibaru atata ya futandi State House.
I understand
Nanyi mfahamu ko
that the police were confronted
itu ya kuonyi ya landi police lunyati lingula
and they showed that they had transferred the file to the Attorney General's chambers.
alu fananyi tande ko file lunyilde ye sawndile ke futandi Attorney General office oto.
And so it became an obligation for the AG's chambers to justify why they couldn't see the case files.
I beg your pardon. Your voice dropped again.
It became the duty
Anatakela do koti ko
for the Attorney General's chambers
Attorney General office
to show why or to explain how they couldn't file the case files.
kajube munana o kitolu o file lu emeje no nyame.
So the Attorney General invited me to her office.
Biton Attorney General nata fero ke ko futandi na office oto.
Justice Mama Fatima Singate.
This was me alon ko
Justice
member
Mama
je
Fatima
otumo wole
Singate.
Mama Fatima Singate.
She invited me to her office.
Anatana office oto.
And after getting what had happened in court,
Birin kolu nata tama nyame ani menketa kiti bunda nyina.
she told me directly
Anyum fonye ka senandiko
that she was going to protect the State Council.
ko me alon ko la kita masakunda la loyati ate bewo fasalale.
In her response to State House.
Was that normal?
Fodum wo mu kuleti mentilin tabang
That the Attorney General would call in a judge
ko Attorney General sikitindir la kumandi
to make such pronouncements?
pour ka ñon kuma kangolu banke.
Was that normal?
It's outrageous.
O mu ku tajire baleti.
Proceed.
Okay, tenteng.
And because I was not privy
Kato tembo mtemambo kolu dolu kalama
to the concerns that have been raised on that particular matter from State House,
State House nata sarto kangolu menu landi wo kuoto ntemambo kalama nung.
and because I was not also privy of what adverse comments
Ando tumo mambo kolu fanan
the
kalama menketa
Attorney General will
kalimol
make in her response,
kalimol ti meni alon ko e fota. Bitu wala nante fanan na jabiroto.
and coupled with the incessant threats that I had been receiving prior to that time, or up
Adunia
to that time,
ni ajube jani o fango be sila silandirolu ning kala jafirolu menu ye wulindi nte kamanung.
I started thinking that it was proper for me to sign out.
Tumo la ngada mutaka mira ko mbatu nga fere ke ntenga ndabo ndi nyinkolutu.
And you mean resign from the position?
Inara ne fonyo do ko nyindo yidaha.
Yes, of course.
Ngawole mira nungo tumo.
The thing was coming so close.
Katu kolu be katakana nyaming.
And so on the 5th of February,
Woto February karo tili lulo
I went to court
ndata kiti bundala.
And I was informed that the Chief Justice had been sacked.
ye ñing kibaro dina ko Chief Justice bayle ala do ko la
And that her whereabouts were unknown.
andung abedamen fango wo tembo mo malong
And that would be Chief Justice Mabel Ajiman.
walam ajimanti
Argument.
wolem ajimanti
That was very frightening to me.
oketa kuti me yente fango silabake
Do you know how that came
Because-
about?
yalo ne o ko nyinnata na sababu nyaadi le ba
Of course,
ha
Tell us.
fanya
Chief Justice Agiman had replaced Justice Wowo.
Chief Justice Ajeman ateseta Joseph Wowo la palaso leto
And what that meant was that
we mnyine firinko
the Nigerian hegemony in the judiciary had come to an end.
Nigeria no la nyaton kaya na kitibunda la jang silam futata dangomale
Secondly,
fulanjang
Agiman did not subscribe to the
Ajiman
kind of judicial politics that Agim and Wowo would have been very used to.
Ajeman madabula kitibunda ni lua la politiko luto meni ya lonko Wowo aning ajimbe menu tamandi kanu
She was more on the side of an upright judiciary,
ate lata mena
a
wolem
strong judiciary,
kitibunda tilindungo
and so did not receive these NIA agents in her office or deal with them.
wala na NIA do kulalu manta ala ofiso
And they had started making series of complaints against her.
ando otumo ya damu takakalamirolu fo ama
I know this
ndefanga ya korosiko
because each time I went to discuss
katu watu
my
wati
challenges with her as Chief Justice,
nintata nyinkito la utumo atebeo Chief Justice yala
she would tell me similar complaints that she had been having.
afananka o nyon wasi wolle fonye akakole akolu menutaki
And so I believe
bitu waya sabun lata nyinako
that her dismissal
ko ila bayo
was the fallout
welem walioti
of this dirty fight from the NIA.
molem nyinti nyin kele jawo me ya lonka bota NIA la karola
Who in the NIA would that have
The
been?
way she-
juma obekela jumalti NIA ambekela mariti
you can only think of Baji, Yankuba Baji.
isa mirano menti wolem yankuba baji
Proceed.
ko tenten
So once I learned that she had been relieved,
brinna tanyi moy ko ya bondi ala do ko tole
and that her whereabouts were unknown,
andu mo malum fanan afango bed min tole mo maje
I concluded that the next person would be me.
otumolem fango nyi mira ko woto mo ko tango membe bulala nyin noma wala be kelanteti
So that same day I left and went home.
bitu olum kilingo mbota je nsaita suokono
I met a few friends
nen kafunyolu doli
and
nyoje
I told them of my decision to leave the country.
nganna nyi ngani o foye otumole ko mbe banko bulala
And so I wrote my resignation that same day.
olum fangolem natal na safero ke pour ka fo ngado ko nyim bulale
But before writing my resignation,
bari janimbe o letro safela ka fo
I
ngado ko bulale
received a call.
ha
I received a call
I
mo
received
yem
a call
kumandi
from
Gilbert.
from Gilbert
Yeah, Gilbert was a military officer serving in the State House.
Gilbert mu sojarolo ti membe
Used
do
to
ko
be-
State House
Yes, Gilbert, I had come to know Gilbert from my very close friend Lamin Sedi,
Gilbert nata long nteri la kolu fe nteri ba e ka fo me la min seidi
And so when I go to Lamin Sedi's house sometimes in the evening,
wati ni wati uraro nin tata Lamin Sedi la bungoto
I will meet Gilbert there.
nsi Gilbert taraje.
So that day he called me
Wolung ayeng kumandi
to inform me that he has heard of the dismissal of the Chief Justice.
ay nyim fanyan ko ay amoyle de ko Chief Justice bay ala do kotole.
And that I was being considered
Andung ibe mira kan tela kuola
appointed Chief Justice.
pour kafo kanke Chief Justice ti.
That was even a more reason
Wala fango nata ke dalilo ti.
that motivated my departure.
Meyen hammen di bang pour ka tariya ka kandaha ka bankobula.
That's further reinforced your decision.
Shortly after,
narane
Yes.
ila hamen ko nyi bambandi kuke
Ha wala nata njuso
shortly
bambandi.
after that call,
Biringo kumandiro botala drong.
I received another from Justice Mama Fatima Singate,
Modo fanan nata kumandi Justice Mama Fatima Singate.
and he's tried to show concern
Andung aba fango la
that he
dew
had checked on me in the judiciary,
kaf
and they told her I had gone home because I was sick.
ay nyitandi kuita bundala ka fande undiko de melna kumo fotaten asasata le aseita suokono.
That is the reason I had left in my office before going home.
Nda fango yo kuma kango bulan na office to janimbe bola je kasai.
But I had never received that kind of caring call from Justice Mama Singate since I joined the judiciary.
Kabirinde ngado ko damuta kiti bundala ntenene mawo kuma fasongo soto me ya itandi ko hammo ben hakilo ben kanne ko Mama Fatima Singate ka kuma fasongo lufanyane na manki.
And she said to me she wanted me to meet her in the office the following day
Anda na tanyi mfanya ko nsita
for
ngatara
some
la office to
official
samu
discussion.
puru nsikacha.
I did not ask her what the official discussions were,
Manyini nkade wakacha lu munle mwoliti.
but
Bari
I convinced myself that I had to resign,
bari nata nyimbamba ndi nsondo
and I
mokono
wrote
he
out my resignation letter.
nyanta ndahala le ngana letter of finance fe memu dahala etroti.
Later that evening,
Tung wolum fango uraro
one of my security guards in the house
na kantarla lu menu kan didna dinkira kanta bungoto je mo kilimbe kono.
What's the name?
todum
Gibu them.
Ka fay jibu dem.
Proceed.
Yes, Gibu them.
Jibu dem.
Gibu them took me in his taxi
Jibu dem yembulandi ala taxi okono.
and drove me out of the Gambia
I am samba kam fintin di Gambia
using the Kanilai road
ndatanin kanilai silole la
and crossing that crossing there that goes to Farafeni
katawo
and
silola
walk to the Senegalese border.
me ya lon ko wole tata finti
Where I
farafenye
crossed into Senegal.
ikate damen kata Senegal la nane
And that is
oton
how I left the country.
kadun Senegal nyin silo ngawole ta kabo Gambia banko kan.
Why did you do all that?
mine sabe nyimbeke
There was sufficient reason
Dalila sahari ngulu soton
for
tale
me to fear
purunga sila
that if I had resigned while in the Gambia,
ko mbe Gambia banko kan tumo men
I would have been
nganna
arrested.
palaso sayindi
not because I have done anything wrong,
ka foko man fenfenke
but because I had not seen
barkatu man jerike
anybody who had resigned in that manner stay in the Gambia.
men yo fanyo façon ke na tatu Gambia.
And did
And
you?
I equally feared
Andu waya sab
that even if
ning atata fang ka ke
I
nyinti
were
ko
not arrested,
ye muta
I could be killed
semfa nole
by the same NIA operatives
wo NIA do kulalu fanglu se o
who have
keno
been coming after me.
men ya lonko ene eka ebe nyin hamo soto kanan kamma.
And what happened to the resignation letter you had written?
e letaro men safe pour ya itandi ko yeda hala mun keda o letaro la
I left that resignation letter with my driver.
No, daha letro tunna drive le bulu men
He did not know where I was going to.
Bari ate fama malo utumo ndekata
I
damende.
told him to drive my official car
Nganyele fae na office moto asa samba.
to the judiciary the next morning
Asa samba kiti bunda la wosamo.
and to hand that letter to the judicial secretary.
Asio letero di judicial secretary fangola.
And you certain he did?
When I got
andu ila tanjina ko drive yo kele
when I got to Senegal,
Birim futata Senegal
that very early morning,
was somo somanda juno.
I sent a copy.
Ah?
I sent a copy.
Nga a letero
I
façon do
sent a
fanan
soft
ki.
copy.
Nga ki
I sent a soft copy
nga safero ke mensono
to
yata
the Attorney
kaki
General
kaki attorney general ya
and to Justice Salawada.
anen kaki justice Salawada ya.
Justice Salawada was then the president of the Court of Appeal.
Atelom president utinu justice Salawada kiti sa inkam bunda atelom bunda president utinu.
Informing them of what?
ke kala mudandi ni munna
Of my resignation.
Ko nganda hado ko lale ke kala mutandi wala.
Did you
For those who
ultimately?
had already left the Gambia.
Bar wayata rante ke nga Gambia mume o bulale foka pare.
Did you ultimately receive a response?
ina na jabiro so tay bulle ban
Yeah, a while, about 1 week or thereabout,
Men tata han fo lokun killing wala o ma fangola.
I received a copy from the IT officer of the judiciary
Nga kaito soto kabo IT do ku bundala mem no marta nyin computer do ko la kiti bundala karola.
He sent me a letter acknowledging, a letter written by the judicial secretary,
Letro kinye me ya
acknowledging
lonko
receipt of my resignation
me ya lonko judicial